Well, hey there, listeners. Welcome to the Brand Marketing Show. I am your host, Kath Langman, and this being our second to last episode of the year, and of course, the final one before Christmas, I always find myself in a bit of a reflective mood at this time of the year, which I'm sure many of you are as well. Now, before I go any further with today's episode, and I am going to share some reflections and some insights and some takeaways from this year. But before I go any further, I really just wanted to pause and acknowledge what has been happening in Australia over the past few days. I'm sure, like so many of you, I've been absolutely heartbroken watching the news from Bondi Beach this week. The attack on families celebrating Hanukkah on what really should have been just a joyful, beautiful evening. It's just beyond horrifying. And my heart goes out to absolutely everyone affected. Families who've lost loved ones, those still recovering in hospital, the first responders, the entire Jewish community who were targeted simply for gathering to celebrate their faith. I also think about the Muslim community here in Australia who have condemned this kind of violence and who are grieving alongside us in the community. And especially those like that absolutely amazing brave man who risked his own life to stop the attack. I think that acts of courage like that truly do remind us, who we really are as Australians. And I certainly hope that others share that belief as well. For me personally, I really believe deeply that every single person deserves love, deserves respect, deserves belonging, and deserves the ability to dream about their future and believe that those dreams are possible. And I think that that should be true regardless of your faith, regardless of your cultural background, from where you might come from or who you are. And I don't think there's any place in this country for hatred. And I'm acutely aware that a podcast about marketing and building brands feels extremely small in the face of that kind of tragedy. But I also just truly believe that the communities that we build and the connections that we foster with other humans and, connections in all forms, whether in person or digitally, really, really matter. And being here for each other really matters. So I hope that, all of you listening, if you are struggling with what's been happening this week, please reach out to somebody, but also check on your friends, family, and neighbors and hold your loved ones just that little bit closer this Christmas. Um, with all of that said, and if you are in a place where you would like to shift gears with me today and move into today's episode, if you are listening to this in real time, it is the week leading up to Christmas. We're only a few days away. Orders have been shipped, or at least most of them will have been shipped. The mad rush is likely behind you, and hopefully you're either on a beach somewhere or at least within striking distance of a cold drink and a good book, or whatever it is that you really enjoy most when you are taking a moment to just relax, hopefully. At least from work anyway. So today's episode is going to be just a little bit different. It's not going to be a tactical deep dive. There's not going to be any kind of strategies per se, or checklist or action plan or anything like this. But what I really wanted to do today is to pause with you for a moment and reflect on what a year it has been. In thinking about even the title of this episode, Oh, What a Year, I was thinking about that song, and I don't even remember what year it's from. It's an old song that goes, "Oh, what a night." Do, 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 do. And I'm so shocking at remembering lyrics. My kids would be horrified, but there you go. But honestly, 2025 has been one of the strangest, one of the most challenging, one of the most thrilling and most transformative years that I can remember in this industry. And I've been in it since 1999. It's felt long, it's felt hard a lot of the time, and yet somehow it's also flown by. It's almost like, when I celebrated both my sons turning 18, it's like, how the hell did that happen? Yet, obviously there are many times in raising children that also feel really hard and long, but then all of a sudden you've blinked and they're adults. Anyway, I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that kind of weird time paradox. with the things that we spend our lives doing. But this year, I have spent more time learning and experimenting than I have in a long time. And, we can thank the advances of AI for a lot of that. Also, the changes to how customers find and interact with brands online, the shifts in what's working and what's not. I mean, it's been fairly relentless, and I know many of you have felt that as well. So let's take a little bit of a breath together and just look back reflectively at what has actually happened this year, what's changed, what we've learned, and where we're heading. And I guess consider this a quiet moment before we close out the year. So let's start with the year of platform chaos, and of course, the elephant in the room being Meta. If you've been running Facebook or Instagram ads this year, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The ominous Andromeda algorithm update that Meta rolled out earlier this year. And for a lot of advertisers, it felt like the ground shifted beneath their feet because campaigns that had been performing beautifully suddenly tanked, costs spiked, and results just became wildly unpredictable. And then there were the AI creative optimizations, in inverted commas, if you're listening, not watching. And I have to just share this anecdote again because it still honestly just makes me laugh and cringe all at once. Our client, Alaska Fresh Seafood, um, it's just so funny. And I did share this in an email, I think, to those of you who are on our email list. But Meta's AI decided to improve Alaska's ad creative, and the original images were really beautiful shots of fresh fish, fisher people in fishing boats, that kind of thing, in the middle of the ocean. But what did Meta's AI do? It magically added some random people, including a random baby, into the middle of the ocean. It plonked fine dining dinner tables with white tablecloths and plates of beautifully presented cooked salmon dishes onto working fishing boats in the middle of rough ocean seas. It was just, these kind of bizarre Frankenstein images that really just made absolutely no sense. And our lead media buyer, Sally, started to joke that Meta was drunk and needed to go home. And honestly, that felt about right. But here's the thing, and this is the lesson from the chaos. That same client finished the year up like 99% year-on-year growth. Their Meta ads were averaging 5 times return on ad spend. It even hit 7 times ROAS during the Black Friday period. I mean, really incredible results achieved during and throughout the months when the platform was just at its most unstable. And so, how were we able to help them achieve that? It was because the fundamentals were right. The creative and the promotional strategy was solid. And I'm talking about real creative, not Meta's AI disasters, were really compelling. The targeting made sense. When the platform zigged and zagged, we adjusted, but the foundation held. And that's been my biggest takeaway from this year's platform chaos. And look, I think those of us like me who've been in digital marketing for decades, we know that platforms will keep changing and they're going to keep updating algorithms, rolling out new features, breaking things, fixing them, breaking them again. Some years are much bigger and more disruptive platform changes like this year than compared to other years, but you can't control it. But what you can control is having really solid fundamentals, a really clear brand strategy, really compelling creative, really genuine understanding and deep understanding of your customers. And when you remember that you are humans communicating to humans and you have all of those branding and marketing fundamentals really solidly in place, that's what's going to carry you through the chaos. But secondly, this AI revolution, if I can get my words out straight, in how customers find you, because beyond the advertising platforms, there's been a much bigger shift happening this year as well. And I think a lot of brands still have their heads in the sand about it. The way people discover brands has fundamentally changed. And I don't know that this is something that you can resist if you want to remain in business. It used to be relatively straightforward to be running an online business. You could optimize your website for Google, get your keywords right, maybe run some ads. I mean, for the last several years, definitely running some ads and people would definitely find you. But now people aren't just going to Google to type in a keyword. People are asking ChatGPT for the best, most relevant, personalized recommendations for themselves. They're also searching on TikTok. They're scrolling Reddit threads. They're watching YouTube reviews and they're asking in Facebook groups as well. And increasingly, AI tools, whether it's, Google's generative AI algorithm, whether it's ChatGPT, there's plenty of others on the market now as well. These AI tools are synthesizing information from all of these places to create answers that are relevant for each individual user. So when someone asks an AI assistant, what's the best organic baby skincare brand in Australia? The AI just isn't just looking at Google rankings. It's not going to just refer to what your, keywords that you've selected carefully for optimizing certain pages and your meta titles and meta descriptions. It's going to actually be pulling from everywhere your brand might be mentioned. So if you are not having your brand mentioned anywhere and you're not present in any of these conversations, you literally do not exist in the AI's answer. And so this is what I've been talking about on the show and what people are now calling search everywhere optimization. And it is genuinely different from traditional SEO. It literally means showing up across multiple platforms, being part of real conversations, creating content that gets referenced and shared. Even the way that we approach social media content is changing this, as we speak, because, all of the social content that we share, whilst in the past it might help keep you current and look like you're a going concern if a prospective customer went looking for you. Now, these AI algorithms are actually referencing the content that you're sharing there as well. And so, what's interesting, and I found this statistic genuinely surprising when I first saw it, in amongst all of this algorithm related stuff, is that human written content still outranks AI written content 94% of the time. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone should just stick to pen and paper for generating all of their content by any stretch, but we still need to have the human element and the human touch and the human checking and all of that kind of stuff. So while AI is changing how people find content, 100% AI generated content isn't necessarily winning. And I think part of that is because there are certain telltales, perhaps, but also there's a skepticism from humans in consuming content, right? So the brands that are thriving are the ones generating genuine human personality driven content and then maybe definitely using AI tools to help distribute it, analyze it, and work more efficiently. And I've been saying this for a while now over this past year, and I'll keep saying it. We need to show up like media companies, creating content that really builds real authority and emotional connection. And we need to deliver like tech companies using AI and automation to work smarter, work faster, and to be able to, personalize everything for our audience. And that combination is where the magic is. One conversation that I've been having more than ever this year is brands wanting to escape the constant discounting hustle. And I get it. The pressure to discount has become relentless really since the post-COVID kind of era. This year and last year, Black Friday started earlier than ever, and we've just been calling it Black Month because, we keep seeing promotions stretching over longer and longer periods of time. And then, there's Cyber Monday, and then there's pre-Christmas sales, and then potentially Boxing Day sales, and then New Year, and it never stops. And if you're not discounting, it can feel like you're invisible. But here's what I've actually seen this year over and over again. The brands that hold their nerve on premium positioning and who really focus much more of their attention on understanding their customers and where, how their brand is relevant to those customers and to be able to tell the best stories, are the ones that are winning. And I mentioned in a recent podcast episode about our client Jody, who runs a kids' lunchwear business. And one of her competitors launched an incredibly elaborate Advent style promotion. It was a very long promotion and it was so complex that they literally produced a detailed PDF guide to explain all the different offers. And when Jodie saw that come out, she had a real moment of panic and a sense of FOMO, fear of missing out, that I should be doing something like this kind of feeling. But we helped her hold firm and stick to her strategy. And it's not like she didn't discount what she could afford to discount over the Black Friday promotional period, but she finished November up 30% year on year without having to give away half the farm. And that story has played out again and again and again this year. Brands achieving really significant growth without the constant big discounts in their promotions, without training their customers to wait for sales. In fact, having, in some cases, brands having to train their customers out of expecting that every week. And, and therefore being able to sell at a much better margin without eroding all of their profits, without eroding their brand positioning and their reputations for good quality products, and without having to hustle and work so hard just to make the same net money. So, and it can take courage to hold that line, especially when everyone around you seems to be discounting. And it can feel sometimes when you are trying to resist that it might not work, but the data keeps proving that premium brand positioning works if you're willing to do the deeper work of building genuine brand value and connecting with the right customers. Another challenge that's really become impossible to ignore this year is the creative explosion. The sheer volume of creative content now required. It's like the cookie monster who is always hungry on Sesame Street. The platforms are hungry. Meta wants fresh creative constantly and not just new content. It wants diverse content, and the algorithms favor that kind of variety. We need different messaging angles, different visual styles, different formats, stills, videos, carousels, reels. And you need to keep testing, keep iterating, and keep feeding the machine. And, part of the difficulty with this is for small teams, which is most businesses in this industry, it can be genuinely overwhelming. And, you can't just set up a campaign and let it run for some weeks or months anymore. And the creative volume demands just feel relentless. But also, when you are trying to build a brand, it's like, well, hang on a second, my brand has a particular look and feel, and it can feel extremely challenging finding ways to meet these creative demands by the platforms whilst not, undermining the brand that you are trying to build recognition for. And so this is an area where AI tools have genuinely helped. And I'm not necessarily talking about creating the final content because, as I said, that human content still wins, and the Meta's generative AI visual creative content capabilities are still completely lacking, to put that in a nice way. But where AI tools are super helpful is for brainstorming, for analysis, and for speeding up the ideation process. And so we've been busy building tools internally to help us with this. And I'm really, really excited to be able to share more about that in the new year and to make some of these tools accessible for clients and listeners. But the tension remains, and it probably will for a little while. How do you create enough content to satisfy the platforms whilst keeping it genuinely good, genuinely on brand, and genuinely human as well? And that's a question I think that everyone is still wrestling with, and I suspect it will be a defining challenge of 2026 as well. On a personal note, and I don't often get too personal on this particular podcast because this show is all about helping you guys. It's not navel gazing about me. But it is Christmas week, so why not? And, this year has been a significant one for our business as well. Businesses. But, in terms of productpreneur, we made a very deliberate pivot early this year in response to all of these rapid changes that I've been talking about. And, I guess the market shifted, customer needs evolved, and we really needed to evolve alongside it as well. The way things used to work just simply stopped working. And we needed to respond really quickly to those changes as well. It wasn't always comfortable. I don't think pivots ever are comfortable, but it was really necessary if we wanted to remain relevant and to thrive this year and beyond. And I'm so genuinely proud of what we have achieved as a team. We've helped so many other brands achieve astounding results this year, and the kind of growth numbers that still kind of make me do a double take when I see them. And these brands have trusted our process, and then they've brought their own grit and determination and creativity to their work as well, because that's always how it works. We can provide strategy and expertise in our area, but really the brand owners who succeed the most are the ones who show up fully, who commit to the work, who trust the process, even if it feels uncomfortable from time to time, and who keep innovating and developing new and better products, and really focusing on building their own brands as well. So my gratitude this year goes out to those clients, the ones who have taken the leap to work with us, the ones who have stayed working with us through this chaotic, fast changing year, and the ones who held their nerve with their premium brand positioning when maybe a lot of their competitors were doing the opposite, the ones who trusted us through all of these platform changes and the chaos from all of the algorithm updates and the constant evolution that this industry has enforced on all of us. So thank you to all of you fabulous clients, but also thank you to my wonderful team, all of whom have stayed with me and contributed to the work that we have done this year. Thank you for navigating this wild ride alongside me. It's been a lot. But looking ahead to 2026, what is coming and what am I excited about for the new year? Because I am actually really energized and excited. Oddly, I feel less fatigued and a lot more energized and excited at this point in the year compared to 12 months ago, even though 12 months ago was technically before all of this chaos started. I think maybe intuitively I knew what might have been coming. My body knew before my brain had, eyeballed the reality. So what is coming and what am I excited about for the new year? The main thing that I'm really excited about for early in the new year is that we're going to be launching some new tools that I've been working on behind the scenes here. Our e-commerce brand growth intelligence dashboard. I might need to come up with a catchier name or some kind of a cool kind of acronym. If anyone out there is good with that sort of thing, please share your ideas with me. But this is essentially a interactive AI agentic tool that gives brand owners a lot more visibility and control over their marketing performance in one place. It's so difficult now. I know many of you for a long time have struggled with the fact that platforms don't share data across platform now in a way that is as useful as we would like. And, that's all well and good for privacy reasons, but it does make it very difficult to know what parts of your marketing are really having the biggest, most positive impact, what we need to change perhaps, and to reconcile the different attribution models that different platforms use, whether it's Google or Klaviyo or Shopify or Meta Ads or whatever, is tricky. And so that's why I've been working on this particular tool. And, I guess the other thing that is the result of such a fast pace of change in our industry is that we need to be able to make decisions faster as well. And so we need to, in order to make good decisions more quickly, we need to have faster, easier access to high quality information to inform those decisions. And so that's what this particular tool is about, plus some additional analysis and creative ideation tools specifically designed for premium brands as well. And so these are what we're calling AI agentic tools, meaning they don't just report data, they don't just tap into the common pool of data that AI tools might be able to access in the broader online realm. They're based on our expertise and knowledge as well, and they are actually helping you to make sense of what your data across all your platforms means and to be able to take action. And like I said before, I've been frustrated for years by how much time gets spent manually pulling reports and then trying to figure out what the numbers actually mean between each of these platforms. And so these tools are designed to solve that problem. They're also designed to help solve the problem of this need for vast amounts of really high quality creative content that is going to tell the right stories for your brand to your customers. And so we can't just, rip off ideas that we might see someone else doing. We need to be able to have a more expedient process of creative ideation for your own brand, right? So I'm going to be sharing more about info about these new tools in the new year, but the underlying mission stays the same, and that is to help premium, innovative, artisanal, sustainable e-commerce brands grow without compromising their positioning, without racing to the bottom on price, and without, burning yourself out trying to do everything manually and, keep that constant hustle going. So, platforms are going to keep changing. AI will keep evolving. Probably Meta will keep trying to get us to move into the metaverse. I think they're delusional, but anyway, these challenges are going to keep coming. But the brands that stay true to their values, that invest in customer relationships, that build real brand equity, those are the brands that will thrive. And I couldn't be more excited to keep working with and helping these brands make that happen as well. So let's wrap things up for today. This has been my reflection on the year that's been. Oh, what a year! 2025, a year of chaos and opportunity, a year of disruption and resilience, a year that simultaneously felt endless and yet somehow flew by in the blink of an eye. It's been a year, hasn't it? And so next week, of course, is our final episode of the year, and it's going to be an episode for you. I hope that you'll enjoy one that you can, just dive into after all of the festivities, and you're hopefully reclining, wearing some kind of a looser elastic band after eating lots of yummy food, or whatever it is that you do with your loved ones over the festive period. It's going to be, how do we think ahead, and how do you want to operate personally in 2026? Not just what you want to achieve numbers wise, but experience wise as well. And so I'm going to be sharing a framework that I use, and I think that you will find it really valuable. For now, though, I hope you can at least get a few moments of rest and switch off for a bit from the digital realm and be present with whoever it is that you want to spend the holidays with. And know that your business will still be ticking over for you in a few days' time, whenever it is you decide to poke your nose back into it. And, and then you can be fresh for the new year. Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for being part of this community of brand owners who care about building something of value. And, it really means a lot to me to have you all along the journey with me. I hope you've loved this episode, and I look forward to catching you next week for our final one of the year. Bye for now.